Hi everyone, it's me, Nina. I'm going to do a video on my husband's liver transplant, and I'm going to try and keep it under like 10 minutes, so I'll probably, because my phone was shut off at 15 minutes, so if I keep it under that, it probably will be a part 1 and part 2. So I'll go ahead and label this one part 1. Okay, to get started. All right. In the summer of 2011, my husband had always been a great worker, hard worker. We had at the time we lived in the country, and we had one of those great big wood burning stoves. So he cut all the wood and chopped all the wood and split the wood. Well, we had to end up getting him a wood splitter because he could no longer split the wood. So I didn't think too much about it because, he was in his late 40s at that time, and just thought, he's going to have to slow down a little bit. I'm sorry, but I don't remember if I told you, but I'm in the basement, so ignore the background. It looks pretty bad. I'm sorry about that. So anyway, long story short, as short as I can get it to make sense for you guys. All right, so we got the wood splitter for him, and I would still look out, and he would be like sitting down and would do a couple pieces and would be sitting down, and I used to help him all the time do all of the wood. But if I would take a break and go in, he was, or do something else, the poor thing was wore out. So I told him, I said, you need to go see the doctor. Well, it went on throughout the summer, and throughout the summer, he just kept showing more symptoms of something that I had no idea what it was. He started out getting like really confused or very forgetful, and we had like bills that were always paid on time, had not been paid, and he would forget that he hadn't paid them. And he was always in charge of all that because he enjoyed doing it, and I didn't do anything to do with the bills because he took care of it. Well, when I found out, I kept getting these shut-off calls or shut-off notices, and I told him, I said, what in the world is going on with you, honey? You know what? You're having a lot of trouble. You have got to go to the doctor. Well, I finally stopped waiting on him, and I made the appointment because one night we were sitting in church, and when he got up to go help sing, his feet shuffled like he was like, a 90-year-old man shuffling. And matter of fact, at that time, one of our old saints, as we called him, he walked with a walker, and he said something to my husband about, buddy, you're walking slower than me. Well, my husband would just kind of grin and, not say a whole lot. He acted confused all the time. So when he came back to my seat, or, sat down with me, I smelt something like, I don't know how to explain it. And if you watch if you have liver problems, even if you watch a lot of things about it, or if you go to those liver sites, like I started with MD Junction, I think it was, which is an awesome site, I'm telling you. But nobody hardly ever mentions the smell that comes off of someone that is sick with cirrhosis. I'll go ahead and say that. And it's a smell that, once you smell it, you'll never forget it, but it's like nothing that I had ever smelled before. And I knew he was clean. He showered every day. His job at work was a very physical job, and he made cultured marble sinks. So that place stank, really bad. He'd get off of work and would really have a bad odor about him, but it was nothing like the odor I smelled in church. So I made an appointment with our doctor, and that odor continued, sometimes worse than others. So he gets to the doctor appointment, and I had a big list written down of all of the signs that he had been demonstrating at home, as far as, it was just horrible. Some of the things that he had went through, the shakes, and he would hallucinate, and he would, I had to start driving everywhere because he said it was like flashes of light, and it would be like, we were driving through town on the way home one day, and he seen a young girl sitting on a bench holding a yellow like yield sign. Apparently there was nothing there. There was no one and nothing on those benches, and that just broke my heart to see your strong man that had taken so good care of you and all the children all of a sudden not be able to function and do hardly anything on his own. So going through that, we, in the meantime, his job closed down. And I had been working as a temp for 3 years. And I got a job as a temp, and then thank the good Lord, I got hired in there, and I got covered with insurance at the time that my husband's was going out, because it stayed on for, I think it was like a month or something we paid, and then mine began, and Steve had no diagnosis at that time. So God worked it out. It was really a miracle, a saving grace for us, because the transplants are over $500,000 here in Ohio. So it's almost 6 minutes, so I'll try to get through this first session. All right, so then the doctor set him up our doctor set him up getting a lot of blood work done. He set him up to have an upper GI and a colonoscopy, things that he hadn't had done. My husband never took medicine. He would have a bad headache once in a great while and would not even take Tylenol for it. So he was just healthy, and he just didn't like taking anything. If he needed it, he didn't like taking it. So they took him in for his upper GI and his colonoscopy at the same day. And they brought him back into the recovery room where I was at, and we couldn't get him to wake up. He was there for hours, and we could not get him to wake up. So the doctor finally came back in and told me that everything had looked really good, that they were going to go ahead and send him down for a CT scan, since he was already still out of it, and he would lay really still because there were some things he wanted to check out. So I said okay, and they took him down, and he was gone for quite a while. And when he came back, he was still out. And so after a long time, we were there. You know, the appointments are made at early in the morning at where we are at. And I think he had been out by 8:30 or 9 o'clock that morning from having those first 2 procedures, and he had never woken up, and it is time for this place to close. So we finally got him awake enough for me to be able to dress him, and they helped me out to the car with him and got him home, and he went to bed. And we never heard about the CAT scan. They said they'd call us with the results of it. So I waited, and I'm not sure how many days it took, but we finally got the call, and they called and said to come in and see the doctor the next day. They were moving appointments around, so I knew that that wasn't good, because they don't ever do that. So we got in there, and the doctor was stating, at first he had thought he had cancer, and that's what my thought was. So, especially knowing that his cousin had died of cancer. And at that time, I had no idea why his cousin died of cancer, and all these other questions going through my mind. So I said, okay, then, it's not cancer then. So what did you find? And he said, it's cirrhosis of the liver. And it hit us so hard, because just a couple years before that, his dad had passed away, and his dad's dad, which would be his grandfather, also passed away from cirrhosis. And my husband's grandfather was a heavy alcoholic. He drank a lot, and up until, I guess, he got really bad off and died. Well, my father-in-law had drank, but he had quit in his 40s or 50s and had not drank in anything, and I think at that time he was 70, close to 70. And so he had cirrhosis, and that took his life. So when they told us that, my husband went type in sort of like he just didn't know what to do. He was like in shock. So let me end this one here, and then I'll pick up on part 2. I'll do that right now. Thank you, and God bless. I hope you come back and listen to the second half.